In May of the year that shall not be named, we were shown a first look at the capabilities of Unreal Engine 5, a sophisticated new game engine that was more powerful and more accessible than ever before. The demo that was built to show the engine off was called Lumen in the Land of Nanite, with both Lumen and Nanite technology being the focus of that demo. It featured a young female character who could traverse the landscapes at great speeds with gorgeous particle effects and a very advanced looking set of movements. After seeing the demo, a lot of people were clamoring for it to be a full-fledged game, but it didn't seem like that was going to be the case. The whole thing was built purely for demo purposes. There's a good chance that we never see a full game based off of this, as much as some of us may want it, but in a weird universe-aligning moment, only a month later we got a trailer for Project Athia, a game by Luminous Productions which featured a young female lead who could traverse the landscape at great speeds with gorgeous particle effects and a very advanced looking set of movements. The coincidences were enough to convince people that these games were somehow connected. Even the title Lumen in the Land of Nanite sounded similar to the studio name Luminous Productions. But while they might not be connected, Project Athia took on the role of this game that so many people wanted, a sort of Uncharted with superpowers, crazy, high-speed, advanced superpowers with seemingly a dark fantasy edge to it as well. Project Athia was eventually given the name Forspoken, and its initial reveal was followed by plenty more trailers divulging more information, and until just this past week, every showing of it made me progressively less excited. I've been wanting a new, original superhero game for years. I talked about it in my Infamous video. Licensed superhero games are escaping their cash-grabby reputation and becoming more mainstream, being developed by legit, established studios, and usually winding up pretty good. Arkham, Spider-Man, Guardians, but original superhero games seem to have all but stopped altogether. We went from Prototype to Infamous to Gravity Rush to nothing. The whole non-licensed superhero genre felt like it died off. Which is why it sucks that I'm so hesitant on Forspoken and my excitement has almost slipped to nothingness at this point, although in fairness, its latest showing did pique my interest. I want this game to be good, of course I do, I want everything to be good, and part of what gives me a smidge of confidence is Sony's track record, even when publishing third-party exclusives. Their last high-profile commercial and critical flop was, what, Days Gone? And even that has a massive fan base and has gotten a bit more love recently. The Last Guardian, kinda the same, lots of mixed reception, but it works wonders for some people. They're not infallible when it comes to game releases, but they're as consistent as you could ask for, and yet I think Forspoken is setting itself up to break that hot streak. I hope I'm wrong. I'd want nothing more than for this game to be awesome, but there's two major things that I could see being the utter downfall of this promising title. But before I talk about that, let's talk about what I've enjoyed seeing from the trailers, which comes down to two things really, the gameplay and the visual effects. Yeah, that's kind of a short list, but one of those is literally what you're doing for most of the game, so it's not like all hope is lost. I'm not entirely sure how to explain the powers that we've seen from Forspoken so far. I think it might just be general matter manipulation, but I will say whatever it is, it looks amazing and very complex. In a slightly extended gameplay showcase, we see that there's some basic shard projectile attacks that you can kind of rapid fire send to enemies, reminding me a lot of Infamous and its basic projectiles, but we've also seen far cooler magic spells in both that gameplay showcase as well as trailers already. Thunderous lightning AoEs, watery vortexes, fiery shards that shoot out of the ground, giant whips, icy surfboards, and not to mention magic-laced flips, dashes, bashes, and grapple swings that are all accompanied by these shimmering particle trails. Visually, the crackle of lightning or the flaming aerial kicks off your surfboard looks so appealing, and if you cut around certain things and only showed me the most exciting gameplay snippets from this game's marketing, hell, it'd be one of my most anticipated titles hands down right now. Your arsenal looks diverse, the enemies that you face also have some really great designs and look pretty imposing, like this burning gargoyle or this regal black beast and its buddy who looks like Weasel. And as long as the attacks have a good sense of weight and impact to them, I don't see a world where the moment-to-moment gameplay, especially as you upgrade and unlock more abilities, isn't fun. But what worries me is that I'll only be able to enjoy that fun in short spurts, and also only if I have the game on mute. Flashes of Forspoken's self-proclaimed sprawling open world have a lot of potential, although we've mainly only seen it in short clips. There seems to be a good level of elevation which really expands its sense of scope, the way that you explore this world seems fun as hell, and there are things like crumbling ruins that seem to be interspersed between the open fields and rocky terrain, but it also seems kinda empty. The thing is, I don't know what kind of open world game Forspoken is gonna be. If you watch my most recent video, you'll know that like many people, I've been thinking a lot about open world design and when/why it it works, coming off the heels of two very major, very different open world games. What's interesting about Forspoken is that the extended gameplay video that we saw, as well as the short Game Informer piece recently that covered the spells in the game, both had pretty minimal UI. No minimap, no objective markers, etc., which might just be something that they removed for the trailers to make it look less cluttered, but it might also just be how the game is. So even though one would assume that Forspoken, a new game published by Square Enix that's trying to appeal to a mass audience, would follow the Ubisoft objective-based open world archetype, all gameplay signs point to it actually being as formless and organically explorable as something like Elden Ring, where you can go anywhere and look at anything with nothing guiding you there but your own curiosity. If that is the case, that is ballsy and that's awesome, and I feel less uneasy about seeing large stretches of the open world that seem flat and unimportant. Because I think about Limgrave and how that place was also pretty rocky and grassy and had tons of places where there wasn't much more than a few small clusters of random enemies, but there was so much hidden away in corners, cliff faces, and even treasure chests. But if Forspoken can't pack the level of cool locations, massive side areas, bosses, and other biomes that this game does, it can easily lose the delicate balance that these games need to succeed. My hopes of what the open world could be are based off another game made by a more established developer who is known for its daring and twisted level design and brilliant imagination. And I'm making it because I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, but if I take away that generous comparison, I think it's far more likely that these stretches of seeming nothingness are just that. The newest trailer finally showed us a few new biomes, which I'm really glad to see because up until that point I was super worried that there was only gonna be like boring open fields and a few ruins. But the fact that the only time that we've seen this open world in real time, there seems to be nothing of note from here to the horizon, makes me feel like I'm not gonna have the urge to explore whatsoever in this game, and for an open world title, that's kind of a problem. But you know what's maybe a bigger problem? There are two types of bad writing: boring writing and annoying writing. Forspoken has shut the hell up writing. I've shouted out the most recent trailer a couple of times in this video because it's the first time this game has grabbed my attention again since its announcement. But notice how this trailer has a total of like 3 seconds where the characters are talking, and that's part of why it's good, because hands down the worst thing that we've seen so far here is the writing. Conceptually, the fish out of water story where the character is bug-eyed and cartoonishly freaking out about everything is a well that's run pretty damn dry at this point. But combine that with the cliche-sounding bad guys and the really childish, constant exclamations from our main character, and you basically get an end product that might as well be more enjoyable with no sound. Seriously, when I was rewatching these trailers a couple of times over for this video, I had to mute them after the first watch because it was that grating. And it would be one thing if that was just the case with the cutscenes, but as we've seen, this persists through the gameplay sections as well, and it's horrible. I'm actually working on a video right now that tackles when and how main characters are done well in video games, and by working on it, I mean I've thought about it and I haven't written a single word. One thing I'm planning on talking about though is the Nathan Drakeization of main characters ever since Uncharted came out. Everyone wants to make their main character Nathan Drake, except the Uncharted movie apparently. Ooh, got him. Got him. I'm kidding, I actually kind of enjoyed that movie. Nathan Drake was the guy who'd make funny remarks during downtime. He would give the player something to hang on to in the slower moments, or great one-liners in whatever hectic climate he was in. But what so many studios failed to recognize in trying to recreate the magic of this character, aside from the fact that his dialogue was actually just witty and interesting, is that it was contextual. He's not just saying random things to fill in the gaps. He'll have a hard fall and comments about it. He'll make a remark about a detail in the scene and what it might mean. He'll have some tongue-in-cheek banter with an ally the way that friends do when they're near each other. He did not speak just for the sake of speaking. That little gameplay showcase of Forspoken that I've referenced a few times runs for about 3.5 minutes, with about 3 of those minutes being non-menu stuff. In those 3 minutes, no more than 5 to 10 seconds go by at any moment without dialogue from either the talking bracelet on Frey's arm or Frey herself. And a lot of it is just that stupid take this, take that dialogue that you find during combat in a horribly written JRPG. Anytime the player performs basically any action, any spell, anything, it's accompanied by,
"Yup, huh, try this for size.
Now's your chance.
On it. Got him. Okay, take it. Ready for this? Fuck off. Yup, this'll do it. Let it fly. Kinda guessed that already. Gotcha.
The advantage is ours.
Okay, that's what I like. Got one for ya.
And you know what's great? That montage was all said in the span of 1 minute. It's terrible. It's not endearing. It doesn't connect me to the character. It's just there for no reason, and it really gets on my nerves. Not to mention, the game also comes with a healthy dose of grunting when you do literally anything. I counted a whopping 54 uhs, ahs, and ichs from this clip. That's one every 3 seconds. It's linked to every dash, every jump, every long fall, and sometimes just for giggles randomly thrown into combat. Frey literally only stops grunting so she can say her filler dialogue. When you're watching previews of a game and all you want to do is mute every voice you hear, I mean, at that point, does everything else even matter all that much? There are things about Forspoken that really excite me. The movement reminds me of Solar Ash, which is awesome. The combat reminds me a bit of Infamous, but it's far more advanced and stylish, and its visual effects are off the chain. And then there's the stuff that I'm reserving judgment on, like the empty open world and the frame issues. They have delayed the game, which will hopefully improve performance because it was looking kind of rough here. And although the open world worries me, I do think there's a universe out there where it can be fun to explore outside of just the enjoyable movements. But the plot and the writing in general, from the over-the-top performances to the generic filler dialogue and the constant obsessive commenting and emoting out of some weird misplaced sense of how to make a game character relatable, makes me feel like this whole experience is coming with a major caveat. I'm hoping Square Enix just has a really bad trailer team in general and this game winds up like Guardians, not the best written game ever, but a billion times better than what the trailer showed off. And if that is the case, then the game has plenty of stuff to work with. But if the writing is truly this terrible throughout and the world is flat and devoid of character, I don't see fun gameplay saving it. Even this short snippet is ruined by the emptiness surrounding us and the incessant babbling of our lead. We'll see if the game can change my mind once it releases in October, assuming it doesn't get delayed again, which honestly, it might, but as of now, I feel like this might be Sony's biggest flop in a long time. I've been putting scouting reports at the end of these videos where I discuss upcoming games, and the one for Forspoken is the most negative so far. There's a few sections that I couldn't really fill in with the info that we have, and a lot that I have very low confidence in. To read from the blurb at the end, Forspoken's rollout has been a bit underwhelming, with not enough raw gameplay being shown and almost no general excitement due to its poor showings as of late. There are plenty of causes for concern and plenty of question marks, like if the pace will suffer from long, empty open world sections. I'm not counting it out, but it needs to prove that it's more than just a flashy superhero skin slapped onto a generic looking open world title. Let me know if you guys are more positive on this game, maybe a bit more negative. Do you agree or disagree with any of my points? If you're new here, subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.